Hey, welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to Wholesale Hotties, a place where ladies in real estate are talking about real estate. I'm your host and MC for the evening, Sharon-Lee Smith, together with my favorite two co-hosts, Donda Molinex and Monique Fell. Hey, girls. Hey, girls. Today, we have an amazing guest. Her name is Renee Miranda, and she is not only an amazing real estate attorney, but also a real estate broker, right? And a loan officer, as well as an investor herself. And like all of us, has made all the mistakes and done all the right things too. Well, Renee, welcome to the show. We're so glad you're here.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Awesome. Thank you. So, Renee, you're coming on to talk today a little bit about second position loans, a little bit about due diligence, all the lovely things. I know you have a presentation. I can put it up on screen whenever you're ready. But let's start with who you are and how you got into real estate.
So I actually refer to myself as the accidental flipper.
Okay.
In 2000, I owned a house in Long Island. We had fixed it up a little bit. Job transfers happened. We had to sell the house. We made a lot of money, and I was like, ooh, this is a lot of fun. So I didn't actually know I was flipping it. Turns out I was. And that started my passion. So
Nice.
I actually moved back to where I grew up about a year later and started a real estate law practice and started flipping. So self-funded every single one of my deals to date. I have never had a private lender or a loan. Self-funded all of them or seller financed all of them.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That is impressive.
Mm-hmm.
That's very good.
It's also very lonely. It's a lonely world when a small town self-funding all your loans and people think you're crazy. So.
Well, we might be. That's okay, though.
We are, but it's fun. It's fun crazy, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I actually kind of do the same. So I buy, and most of my properties subject to, and then I self-fund the rehab.
Mm-hmm.
And I find it's a real struggle.
It is.
Tell us a little bit about how I could do something different here.
Networking. You got to know the right people and you've got to do your due diligence. I mean, it's as important to know who your lender is as it is to be a good borrower. You need a good lender also.
Yeah.
So I actually haven't done it yet. I'm still, after lending once and getting burned, making a lot of mistakes, I'm still a little hesitant, but you get to a point where you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it's networking and knowing the right people and doing due diligence anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's a great segue. Tell us about this due diligence. What is that? What does that mean? And what are you talking about?
So for me, I think I'm going to tell my story because, I'm a real estate attorney. I'm a realtor. I've been doing this for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I find myself getting involved. I lent $40,000 on a project called Florida Tiny Farms. In Florida, there were actually 2 deals we worked on, but I lent $40,000. And I did it with absolutely no due diligence. And with the worst JV agreement you have ever seen in your entire life.
And you knew better, Renee.
I knew better, but here's the catch. And here's what happens, I think, with women in real estate. That's my opinion. Yep. We're so desperate to meet like-minded people that when we think we do, maybe we let our guards down. And especially if you're someone who, I can't imagine taking $40,000 and paying off my foreclosure, for example. Like, I can't imagine doing that. So it's hard for someone like me to think that someone will take that money and not do what we agreed to do with it. So I think you get caught in that trap of you want it so bad. You are a trusting person already. And but the reality is I should have known better. Yeah. I absolutely should have known better. So I lent $40,000 to this person for this. I'd love to say her name, but you know what? She's not even worth the name. So I lent the money. I found out very quickly that it was not being spent the way it should be. In fact, the property was purchased in a different name than the contract. So it was a position where, how do I even sue? Who do I sue? Because I did have a JV and there was a breach. But who do I sue when the property isn't even in the name of the contract? So it was a year of sleepless nights. It was asking myself, how could you be so stupid? I'm still asking myself that question. But a year of sleepless nights, I got my money back. Ended up meeting 7 other women who invested with the same person. And there is $685,000 of investment funds that have not been returned. So,
wow.
Until proven guilty, but I'm telling you, there's $685,000 out there that hasn't been returned to the investors. So I was at a crossroads. Do I continue in real estate? Do I ever trust another deal again? or do I learn from this lesson and stop other people from doing it? So that's where I've headed. My goals now are to teach due diligence, number one, and to create a women's group where women can be supported and ask the right questions. And if you're not doing the right thing, you're not in the group, right? Like we can't control everybody in the group, but we can create a space where when you're acting in a way you shouldn't, then you're removed, and keep it as safe as we can. So that's kind of where I am. So let me give you, I have a slide here on the definition of due diligence. Let's see here. Let's see if I can share it. I'm not real good at this. Let's try. So here we go. Oh. So due diligence, the process of doing your homework before committing to a real estate deal. It means thoroughly investigating, verifying, and evaluating all aspects that could impact your decision and your money. That includes the person, the property, the paperwork. Think of due diligence as a safety net, the steps you take before you buy, lend, or sign anything to ensure the deal is solid. As an investor, your focus should not be on what you will make on a deal. It should be on what you might lose by doing the deal. And I think that's a lot of people make that mistake. They're focused on, this is a great deal. I'm going to make all this money. And the reality is that it's just talk until you verify it. So there's where the problem is. I think a lot of people think, I'm going to invest $40,000. I'm going to make $5,000 in return. This is a great deal.
Right.
Turns out the person you're investing $40,000 with is in financial trouble, and that money isn't going to be used for what you thought it was. So now what? If you don't have the paperwork, now what? So, that's where the problem comes in.
Absolutely.
Yep. So, go ahead.
I was going to say, where would someone get the paperwork? You say about not having the proper paperwork, and what would define proper paperwork?
All right, so we'll skip over to that one. That one's a little further ahead, but you know what? That's absolutely okay.
I just dive right in. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know why, but it's jumping me out of my paper. Okay, so let's see here. So we've got three aspects of due diligence. One is the person. So we can start there. We can skip right over to the paperwork. Second is the property, knowing what property you're investing in. And third is the paperwork. So here's the paperwork. You got your promissory note, your mortgage or deed of trust, your title policy showing clean title, your JV agreement, contract, whatever you want to call it, that has all of the terms you've discussed. What I found in my agreement, for example, is there was no venue clause. So if I had to sue, where were we going to sue? I was in New York. She was in Tennessee. The property was in Florida. Where are we going to sue? The agreement didn't have that, and agreements can have that, and it will be enforced by the courts. So there's some really important things that need to be in those agreements.
I got a question on that. Where would you suggest that would be? Would it be where the property is?
Well, look, if you're the lender, wouldn't you want the lawsuit to be able to take place where you are?
In your state,
right around the corner,
right? I'm in New Jersey, or I'm in New York, for example, and I lend to someone in Tennessee. Do I want to have to go to Tennessee to bring a lawsuit?
No.
As the lender, you should take control of that situation. And, if we get in an issue where there's going to be a lawsuit, it's going to happen in Erie County, New York. That's where I am, and that's where it's going to happen. And if they don't want to agree to it, I wouldn't lend to them. So another really important one is the use of funds clause. Had someone who came to me recently, and they lent some money to finish a rehab. There was like a gap where they didn't have enough money to finish a rehab, and so it was lent, and the money wasn't being used for what they said it was going to be. So fund clause is a great clause to put in your contract. I'm giving you $40,000 to build the back deck, to finish the windows, and to finish the painting, and I want proof every 30 days that it's being done. That way, if 30 days down the road you're not getting those things, and you go, it's been 30 days, you're in default, I want my money back, and they say the money's gone, it's like, well, where is it? Where is the money? So there are many. This topic is so big. We could talk all day just about the promissory note, the mortgage, the title, the agreement. So it's a really broad conversation to have. But as far as being the lender, take control of those terms. You're the money, that you take control. Because honestly, you're not making a profit unless you get your investment back.
Yeah.
So, keep that in mind, that it's all a fairy tale until
it's actually paid.
Investment back, right? There is no profit without the investment coming back.
Right.
Insurance, personal guarantees. Personal guarantees are really important. What'll happen a lot of times is these LLCs, they'll have one property in them. The property goes bust. There's no money left. Let's say, for example, you've got $150,000 purchase price and loan. They gut the place. They take another 50 from you. They never do any of the repairs. Well, the ARV might be 250, but at this point, nothing's been done.
Yeah.
So the property was worth 150 when it was bought, maybe, and now it's worth 75.
Right.
So where are you? How are you getting your money back? How are you, if you don't have a personal guarantee and that property goes bust and the first lien holder enforces their lien, which they're going to, how are you getting your money back? Yeah. Maybe if you have the right paperwork, the first lien holder and the second lien holder can work together, finish the project, and both come out ahead. But, you should know who that first lien holder is and be able to work with them, because you're not guaranteed that that's going to happen.
Right.
So entity docs. In my situation, I had a contract with Florida Tiny Farms. Mm-hmm. Found out that Florida Tiny Farms was formed in Florida and in New Mexico. And the property went in the name of a third company. So now who do I sue? Who am I contracting with? I don't even know who I was contracting with. Really, really important. Get those documents. They're going to provide you. There's the incorporation for, say, Florida. Now you're dealing with a Florida corporation. And what's to stop them from having that same name in 5 states? So you really want to know not only who you're doing business with, but in what state.
Yeah. It's interesting that the title company, like my title company that I use on most of my deals, requires, if there's an LLC, to get the entity docs before they'll close.
Absolutely. But here's my problem. I sent the money directly to her.
Oh.
Right? Like when I make mistakes, I make big ones. I do it. I go all in, right?
Oh, girl, me too.
Well, I was all in on this problem, right? Like I was the problem. Yeah. I saw the title report afterwards, and the title report was actually run in the name of the company she put the property in. So had I paid attention, I saw the title report and I knew what my JV said, and they didn't match, and I didn't pick it up. So, I'm here to admit that I literally did the worst deal ever, and I'm lucky to have gotten away with it. So I just want other people to not have that happen to them. So always, always, always send your money to the title company. If there are, say, funds that are going to be released over a period of time to do renovations, the title company often won't hold that money, but you can find a local attorney who has an IOLA account who will. It is worth paying that attorney to hold that money and to just write those 4 checks. If you send them the whole thing and they send the whole thing off to their other deal that's going bust or that's falling apart, what do you do at that point? How do you figure it out halfway through the process, but 100% of the money's gone.
Yeah.
So definitely, if you can, put that money somewhere safe. And you can do your own draws. I don't highly recommend it, but you can do your own draws. I'll give you $20,000, as you do A, B, and C, and just put that in your joint venture agreement.
Yeah.
So, that's another way to do it. So that's the paperwork end of it. We've got let's see here. So this is the property, doing due diligence on the property. Let's go to the person first, because that's the most interesting one. So due diligence on the person.
It is.
Here's all these things. You can go on Facebook and you can check out their profiles, and you may see some things that are. Here's what I would recommend. If everything's always perfect in their life, if it's always someone else's fault, it's probably not a deal you want to lend on. That's honestly a lesson that I learned, that and your gut feeling. Sometimes something just doesn't feel right. Why would you take $100,000 that you made working a job that you're hoping to leave someday for real estate full time? Why would you take $100,000 of that money and give it to somebody who gives you this feeling that something's not right? So, I mean, it's easy to do these searches. You can go online, you can search for foreclosures, bankruptcies. All those things are pretty easily accessible. In Florida specifically, you can find out anything that's ever been filed in the court system. There are public records of it, and you can get copies of most of them. So had I done that, I would have seen 3 foreclosures, 4 bankruptcies, and several lawsuits. And I wouldn't have lent, but I didn't, because I had been her friend. I use that term very lightly, for almost a year, and we had talked business the whole time, and I trusted that she was who she said she was. I was wrong, as we sometimes are, right? I mean, we form poor judgments about people all the time. It's part of life. So
Absolutely.
So you can do all these things, but ultimately you want to trust your gut. It's ultimately down to how does this person make you feel? How does this situation make you feel? What else there was a couple other ones. Trust your gut. Oh, someone's behavior in the past is an indication of how they will behave in the future. Now, people can redeem themselves. People do it all the time. But for the most part, if someone is doing bad deals 5 years ago, they're probably not doing good ones now. So that's a really big lesson that I needed to learn, that people make mistakes, but when it's repetitive, it's probably just who they are. So
that makes sense. Yeah.
And here's what a lot of lenders don't understand too, is there's a lot of people in a financial crisis. They've got 4 flips. One is underwater. One, the contractors aren't showing up. They can't sell the 3rd one, and you're investing in the 4th one. And the reality is they're going to tell you what they want you to hear because they need your money. So you've got to verify everything they say. And make sure that you're comfortable that what they're saying is true.
Yeah. So, how do you find, like, if someone's got current projects going on, how do you find that? Where do you go? Like, I mean, obviously you're going to ask them, but who's to say, if they're being dishonest anyway, who's to say they're going to tell you? So then what public record source would you have to find what, projects they're currently working on?
In most states, you can run a search for mortgages that were recorded in an LLC's name. So if they have first liens on 4 properties, you should be able to find 4 first liens recorded on that property. Some states are a little less free with their public records, but most states you can go in and look for, just go in your civil courts and look for public records that are mortgages, deeds. You'll see the deeds, you'll see the mortgages. And honestly, if you're lending with someone and they're not willing to give you that information, they're not a good borrower. Right. So if they're saying they have 4 projects, they should be able to give you the information on those 4 projects.
Right. I'm just wondering, like, if they don't even tell you that they have other projects, you know what I mean?
If they don't have other projects, then there's that question. If they don't have some history they can back up, then why would you want to lend to them?
That's true.
Yeah. And again, if you put something like that scope of work or that clause in your contract, if the contract says this is going to be, I'm giving you this money to finish the kitchen, and you stop by the project, or you send someone over, or you can do a site called SiteWire, can verify that work's been done. If you have a 30-day check-in and 30 days goes by, your $40,000 is gone and nothing's been done on the kitchen, that's the time to start asking those questions right then and there. Because where is that money? And that indicates that something. So due diligence is also something you need to do throughout the process to protect yourself. Because if you wait 6 months, they may have had equity in that property at 30 days. They may not at 6 months.
Yeah.
So the minute you see something's wrong, you need to jump in and and start asking questions and start looking into your options.
Yeah. Now you just glazed over that real quick. What's the name of that website? Site Watch, you said?
SiteWire. So SiteWire is a site. Didn't you see? It's promoted by Dealmaker. They were at the last 2 Dealmakers.
Yes,
So
but
what
the audience doesn't know, Renee. I ask these questions, not
you
for
know
me.
SiteWire though. so SiteWire is a site that uses they use data. They verify through pictures. Basically, you take pictures of your project, and the software is able to verify that the kitchen is in the same condition it was at the last photo, for example. Or let's say your agreement was high-end appliances, it can actually pinpoint that the appliances are not high-end, which is also a red flag. If your deal says, I'm giving you this money to do high-end appliances and high-end countertops, and SiteWire can't verify that, they needed $40,000 to do those high-end, but they didn't do the high-end. Where's the rest of the money? So that's another way that you can keep yourself apprised of what's happening at the property. But again, your contract needs to say every 30 days, you're going to pay for a SiteWire check, or you're going to send me photos, or whatever that agreement is. You want to keep up with them, especially when you're doing a second position that's to kind of fill the gap and get things done. You want to keep up with the fact that that's being done. Because on your second position loans, you run a much bigger risk that if there's a problem, there's not going to be enough equity to get you paid back. Maybe a little bit, but probably not in full. So very important.
Renee, do you ever recommend maybe checking on it every week or every 2 weeks, or being more of a helicopter?
It really depends on your comfort level. And, if you've done 5 deals with someone, but again, I've seen situations where someone's done 10 deals and the 10th deal is the problem. So I think you need to decide your comfort box. They talk about buy boxes in real estate. Decide your lending box and stick to it. What are you comfortable with doing? If you want to do every 2 weeks, if you want to pop in, if you want to hire someone locally to pop in for you if you don't live there, whatever it is, I would say stick to it, and know what your comfort level is. For me personally, knowing I had all this money out there and I had no information on what was going on for 3 months, I probably wouldn't sleep well. So for me personally, I would want those updates maybe every 2 weeks, maybe every month, depending on the situation, how much money was involved.
So do you personally want to stick with like local, or do you go outside of local now?
Again, I think it depends on the situation. I think if everything checks out and they've been a good lender and they can verify, other deals they've done, I'd be willing to not be local. So it really depends.
Probably helps too if you have somebody, you get boots on the ground.
Absolutely.
At location.
Boots on the ground is, if you can't be there, SiteWire is a good option if you can't be there, and you can hire that company. And here's the other thing a lot of lenders do that I'm trying to convince them to stop doing. I see a lot of these deals happen where the borrower doesn't want to file a mortgage, doesn't want to use an attorney, doesn't want to provide title insurance, because the borrower wants to save $1,000. As the lender, I don't care if the borrower can't spend $1,000 to get $40,000 of my money to finish their project, they're not a good borrower. So, and why as the lender would you allow someone else to save money at the expense of your $40,000, for example, if that's what you're lending? So I think that's a mindset. As the lender, you need to require everything. And if you're not requiring everything, you need to have a really good conversation with yourself as to why, and understand the risk you're taking by not doing it. Yeah. Because saving the borrower $1,000 to me is a red flag.
Yeah.
If the borrower is uncomfortable spending an extra $1,000 to get that $40,000 to finish that project, then the borrower may have some things going on that doesn't make them a good borrower.
Yeah.
And SiteWire is also something that you would pass on to that borrower. So I do see borrowers that complain about that and say, I don't want to pay that extra fee. Well, is there a reason? I mean, some borrowers just really don't need the money. And when the fees get too high, they go, I'll just self-fund it, or I'll talk to my mom, or I'll get it off a credit card. I mean, there are reasons borrowers don't want to pay all those fees. But if they don't have good reasons, at some point, I, as a borrower, go, those fees are higher than I want to pay. I can self-fund. I was just hoping not to. Right. That makes sense. But for borrowers who are complaining about, I have to pay SiteWire $50 a month or whatever it is, that makes me really wonder.
Yeah.
So there you have that. And then the last thing is the property, knowing the property. So you have to understand the property's current value and the after repair value. Never, ever, ever trust the borrower and what they tell you. Do your due diligence. I've seen deals where the borrower's like the property's worth $200,000. They're in Florida, for example, where market values have come down. My house, for example, was at $480 at its highest, and it is now $398. So there's some significant decrease in values. So the borrower says it's $200,000. It may be, $185,000 at this point. Maybe it was when they started this process, but maybe it's not now.
So do you call a broker for a BPO? Broker price opinion?
I would say know somebody who understands how to do property valuation. I have Rehab Valuator. I use that. I understand how to manipulate Zillow and comps, as a realtor. But if you don't know how to do them, either get really good software, get a real estate agent, a broker who can do that BPO, or find somebody who can help you do those numbers. And if you can't, don't do it. If you're going to lend based on what the borrower tells you, I suggest you don't lend.
Yeah. And there is a link in the description for a Rehab Valuator. Yes, that's a great tool. And what I love about that is not just the property valuation, but also the cost estimation for the rehab. So as a lender, you can do your due diligence there too. They're saying it's going to cost this much, and they're going to do this, and this. You can plug that into this Rehab Valuator and realize these numbers don't add up. You're saying it's going to be 30, but to do all you're talking about, it's really going to be 80 or 60 or whatever. You can then say,
yeah,
I don't think you know what you're talking about.
Absolutely. And especially when you're the second lien position. I mean, those numbers really start to squeeze in. If you're the first lien and you're a 70%, loan to value, you've got a little bit of room for them to be off on their numbers. But when you're the second position lien, just the amount of cost that up through a foreclosure, should that have to happen, you can get bumped out of that second position lien payment really quickly. So if you're in a second position, I would suggest every 2 weeks, you want updates. You want to know where your money's being spent. You want updates. If you can, release that money in parts instead of all at once, and really be diligent about what's going on with that property, because there's, if things go bad, there's a chance the first lien will get paid back, and you may not. So really, really important. And the other thing that's spoken in the industry is very, very common: never loan on a property you don't want to take over, that you don't want to own. Right. So you're the second position lender, things go sideways. You maybe want to have a relationship with the first lien holder if that's possible. And you two work together, like, hey, I don't want to lose my money. How can we do this together and finish this project, for example? So it's something you could consider. If you want to know who that first lien holder is and have a conversation with them, if that's one of your requirements to lend the money, then put that in your agreement. If your borrower says no, then you're not lending. And again, it's your comfort level. What are you willing to do and not do to protect the money that you're putting in?
Yeah. So we have a question from the audience. We're doing a lot of talking about lending to investor for flipping or whatnot. What about lending as far as seller financing a house to an end buyer? So this gentleman says, we're interested in selling our condos in Arizona for 4, the number 4, I know he's typed it wrong here, but 4 are rented out. We'd also be interested in doing seller financing for the right buyers. Thank you, ladies. Have a great day. And he subsequently asked, what type of due diligence or contracts would he need for that type of thing? How would you evaluate a retail buyer in a seller finance situation?
You would do it as if you were a bank. How do the banks do it? The banks get a credit report. The banks, ask the questions. The banks look to see if they have foreclosures, bankruptcies. So I would look into all those things as if you were a bank. So if they bought this condo, they know what the bank needed from them. They needed pay stubs and tax returns and all those things. So if you're going to be the bank, act like the bank. And so what I see a lot of seller finance deals happen is the buyer will go get a first loan, and then the seller will be second position on the balance. Mm-hmm. And again, so you're running into all these things we're talking about being second position. Your chances of getting squeezed out of payments if there's a problem increase. So personally, I'm not going to seller finance anything that I'm not first position lien. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be second position. But again, it depends on your risk, your rewards, where you're comfortable. There are some states now who are, in the past, if you foreclosed on a property, you could take back that property. So I seller finance my house. The borrowers don't comply, stop paying me. I foreclose, I get the property back. There are some states now who are saying you don't get the property back.
Well, what is the point of a foreclosure if you don't get the property back?
You get it back, but you only get to keep it to the extent that you're still owed. So there are some.
Well, then where's it go?
Well, you get it back, but you can't you can't resell it. You can't. Let's say the buyer owes you $100,000, for example.
Okay.
And you take it back and it's worth $500.
Okay.
And then you go sell it for $500.
Okay.
There are some states who are saying you only get the $100,000, and the
Virginia is that right?
100 back. Yes, a lot of states used to say, even New York just changed their rules. If you foreclose, you took the property. That's it, and the borrowers got nothing. And New York has just started to change that. So New York was taking properties in tax foreclosures. You owed $10,000 in taxes. They were taking your $200,000 property, and the county was keeping all the money, all of it. So that has just changed. So some states are now saying, yes, you can take the property back, but only to the extent that you're owed. You can only recover to the extent that you're owed, and not all of it. So a lot of people wanted to seller finance because they thought, well, if they default, I get the property back and they lose all that money they've put into it. Win-win for me. Might not necessarily be the case anymore. So really check with your state, check with your local attorney. And understand the laws in your state before you do that seller financing. What would happen in the event you had to take the property back?
That's so great. I'd never heard of that. That's really interesting. Yeah, I buy seller finance as well, and I just, had no clue.
Well, it's different when you're someone who's buying seller finance and you're reliable and you're never going to default. It's a great deal for both of you.
Right.
You seller finance to a borrower who is, a lot of times they don't even know they're a problem. They don't even understand that they can't do what they said they were going to do. I'm not saying all borrowers are coming in with bad intentions.
Right.
A lot of times they get in over their head and you pay the price for it.
Right. Well, or like what happened to me where the contractor walked with all my rehab funds and left me hanging, and my second position lender is like, oh, great. Now what? And so I've now had to take on I did self-fund for a while, but then I took on a third position lender. And only because, we are friends, we know each other well, and we're able to make that happen. But that's so super high risk for her. Right. Mm-hmm. And so it's, just she
and look,
only because she knows the integrity level,
we could do a whole nother due diligence class on just contractors. So there's a lot of paperwork you need to get up front on those deals too, that a lot of people aren't. And I'm one of them. I have always, I think for me, because I'm a real estate attorney and all of my clients are people I've known all my life, a lot of times, or friends of people, friends of friends, referrals. I've just always been very trusting. And so being trusting in real estate is really a bad idea. It really is. And you kind of live your life thinking you can trust everybody. And the reality is that you can't.
Yeah.
You know, I have a comment that I make in my life, and it is vet your mother. Now, I really wouldn't vet
my mother. No, I'm just kidding.
But you know what I'm saying? Like you need to even vet the people close to you, because like my best friend, I'll be honest, I don't know her financial. Well, my one best friend, I invest with her and I know her financial situation, but we all have friends that we think are financially sound, right? And they're not. Their credit scores are, 500 if they're lucky. They live beyond their means, and we don't know that. How do we know? How do we know that they get a notice from the electric company every month telling them they're going to shut their lights off? We don't know.
You're right.
And so I really think you should vet everybody. And I don't think it's first time and then second and then third and then say, well, we've done 3 deals, it's good. There's still some basic vetting you need to do even then.
Yeah.
Because people's financial situations change, they get in over their head, they make moves that they weren't ready to make or financially capable of making, and they get in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Myself included.
Yep. It happens, right?
Yeah.
So what else do we have? Title's a big one too. So I see a lot of second position lenders. They'll take the title insurance policy from the first position lender and they'll look at it and they'll go, it looks good. Everything's good. I'll just rely on that. And here's the problem with that. If that first position loan happened, say 6 or 7 months ago, there's a chance, let's say the roofer came and didn't get paid. He could put a mechanics lien on that property. Or let's say they had a credit card judgment. That could show up on the property. So I personally want to have a title policy for myself. But that, again, is what's your comfort level. At the very least, I would want it run out, and I would want to see the titles clear up to the date that we're closing.
Yeah.
And that is the very bare minimum that I would want to see. I may decide to lend based on that. I'd prefer to have the title policy. And again, why am I saving them $300?
Right.
Why? What does it get me to save them that $300?
Right.
So I would say you'd have to have a really good reason not to get it. And here's the problem too. If there is a title issue, they're only going to pay that lender up to the value of the lender's loan. So if you don't have your own loan and there's a problem, I don't take too much credence with that though, because the reality is title is paid out very, very rarely. So, but there is that possibility that a serious title issue shows up and they're only going to cover it to the amount of the first loan because you don't have a title policy.
Right.
So there is that risk. I don't give that too much weight, but it's there.
Right. I would imagine maybe state to state it's a little different. I don't know.
No. So your title policy is, and someone just posted this recently, your title policy for the lender is limited to the amount of the loan. And if you get an owner's policy, in addition to that, it's to the amount you paid for it.
Okay.
And then you can get what's called a market rider, which will increase as the value of the property increases. So as you're doing those renovations. So if you're buying a house at $100,000, that's probably going to be valued at $750,000. You might want that market value rider. And title insurance really is it's something you do ahead of time to protect yourself. The likelihood that you're going to have a payable issue is really, really small. But why wouldn't you spend another $200 to get that market value rider, or $400 just in case? I mean, if you're going to buy insurance, like you don't buy car insurance the cheapest they have. You buy one that protects you in the event there's an issue. You don't buy fire insurance on your house for the minimum that you can insure it for. You insure it for what it's going to be worth. So you may want to do that with your title policies too. It's kind of like pre-insurance, like a protection just in case. So something to be really careful about right now is market trends. A lot of markets are seeing a decrease in value. So be really cautious with those numbers. When you're running your comps, don't use comps from a year ago. A lot of those numbers are changing. So you have to find comps that are within the last, maybe 60 days now. And you've got to do a little research on each state. Like Florida, some of their markets are really coming down. But places like New Jersey, they're not. So you really have to know your market. It doesn't apply to all of them, but you've got to understand those market conditions when you're deciding what the property's worth.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. Yeah, market to market, that information is going to change. So, like here in Virginia right now, we're using 6 months for comps. But where I'm working in some other states, you're right. It's only 3 months at most.
In Florida, I probably wouldn't use more than 2 at this point.
Exactly. Because of that. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Because of all the damage the hurricanes did last year. And then the
insurance
backlash from that.
When I bought it, my insurance was $1,400 and now it's $5,200. I've only owned it for 5 years, so it hasn't been that long. And my taxes were like 25 and now they're also, so my expenses went from about 4,000 to about 15.
Wow.
Almost 15. I mean, it's tripled. So yeah, it's a, and then the home value during COVID went up to like 480 and now they're estimating it at like 380. So I've lost 100,000 and I really didn't, but in pretend equity, number equity, and my expenses have almost tripled.
Yeah.
So a house that was, I house hack, which means I have people that live on the property with me, although they have separate units. They don't live in my unit. But I used to have a lot of money left at the end of the month to go do something else with. And now that's squeezing in to the point where I think I'm profiting a couple $100 a month now, but I live there for free. So the numbers still work, but they're getting really close to not working.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. How do you think, in situations like that, is changing to like a co-living strategy going to be helpful to people?
So I was looking to either refinance my property or do a DSCR loan. So I looked into doing a DSCR loan. I got approved for it, but DSCR loans, you can't live there. So right now I do live there. So the deal would have been I couldn't live there. I would have only been able to rent it. So I called my insurance company, which is Progressive, and they said, we don't rent on rental properties anymore at all in the state of Florida. If you have an existing policy, that's one thing. And I said, well, I have a policy with you. I've had it for 5 years or 6 years. They said, we won't convert it. So that company specifically, and there are other companies, will not even lend. So I ended up getting a HELOC and pulling out some of my equity because I couldn't convert it to a DSCR. So pad splits out of the question. I mean, I'm not saying I couldn't have found insurance, but there wasn't an easy answer for me. So I went with the HELOC and did that instead.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
I have someone to have you talk to.
Yeah.
Anyway.
There you go.
Yep. See, that's why we network.
Right. Yeah. Hey, I just recently learned of a first position HELOC. Have you heard about that?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I just didn't know you could do a first position HELOC, and then you just, it gives you, from what I'm understanding, is it pays off a lot faster, and it's a simple interest loan. So that's why you're able to pay it off faster. And then you always have access to the depreciation of the property and stuff. So
Right. I mean, my HELOC, I will tell you, that's why I joined NEXA to become a mortgage loan officer. I had passed the exam during COVID, and I really had no interest in being a mortgage loan officer. I did it because I was bored and it was COVID, and I figured it couldn't hurt to know it, right?
Right.
So, sounds like me.
Right. So I go on and I'm looking, for this DSCR lender and this HELOC, and the HELOC, someone reaches out to me. His name was Ray, and he reaches out and he says, you need to try this AXEN loan. And I'm self-employed, so I don't have, steady income. I don't really want to show my tax returns for my LLCs because they show, even though you make money, we all know how LLC tax returns work. Ultimately, it shows nothing. So, like, what do I have? So he said, this is a great thing. You link your bank accounts. It pulls all your income over the last year or whatever it is, and it'll tell you what you're approved for almost instantly. And mine took 9 days only because I had put a lock on my credit report. And I had to go back in, unlock it, and have it rerun in order to finalize it. But it would have taken 5 days. So in 5 days, I was able to pull $110,000 out of that property. So if anybody who's listening is interested in that kind of loan, it is a wonderful, wonderful product. Now, the interest rate is a little bit higher, 9, 10%, but I don't have to pay it back for 10 years. So I can use that money over and over and over.
Right.
And pay it back, take it back out. My interest rate really isn't 10 if I'm only using it for 6 months every year.
Right.
And I compare that with my first lien, which is only 4%. So if you average them out, it's still a really good rate. So that's what I ended up doing. And so those loans do exist. Got to be careful for them, though. These great loans pop up for self-employed people all the time, and they quickly disappear. But as of right now, it's still there.
What was that one called?
It's AXEN.
AXEN.
Mm-hmm. So just get in touch with me if you're interested or you know somebody who might be, and I can walk you through the process, send you to the website, do all that. But it's a really cool product. I thought I was stuck with all this equity in this property and no way to convert it to another type of property. And I really thought I was stuck, and I wasn't. So I was surprised, pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, you were house rich, cash poor, right?
I was, yeah. I had like $300,000 in equity in a house, and I needed money, right?
Right.
I wanted to buy 2 properties at once instead of 1. So, it made a huge difference. So,
Boy, that sounds familiar.
Yeah. Right? Like, my goals are not big. I just want 2 at the same time, right? Now I'm open, after doing enough networking, I am open to absolutely doing a private money lender. I mean, I would do it in a second. If I could be lucky enough to find a 3rd and a 4th property all at the same time, I'd get a private money lender, no problem. Yeah. And I'd be a good borrower. So that makes sense, right? So I know how to be a good borrower now too, not just a good lender.
Right.
So.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So what else do we have? So I'm just going to, I'll tell you guys about this is my Facebook page. It's called Let's Talk Due Diligence in Real Estate.
Hold on. Let me pull it back up. Okay.
Got it?
Yep.
Let's Talk Due Diligence in Real Estate. I just started this page about 3 weeks ago. So we've got I think we're close to 100 members. I'm going to start posting it on things like the Real Estate Blacklist sites and things like that to pull more people in. But that's a page just about investing smarter, due diligence. So right now I'm kind of all over the place. What I hope to do is maybe every week have a different topic. So we'll talk about title for a week. I want to have like a question and answer where, members can answer questions you might have. So that's there. It's free. Join in the conversation. The Accidental Investor Circle is a group that I have started. It does have a Facebook page. You can join there. But I am on the Mighty Network and I'm building that site right now. So that'll be a paid community. It won't be very expensive, but it'd be a paid community really focused at networking, getting groups of women together in a safe space is really what it's about. And talking about everything. Talking about the husband who doesn't support you, talking about health issues, talking about raising kids while you're doing real estate.
Like us. That's what we do. We talk about all the things.
Exactly. I don't want it to be limited to real estate. And I don't even want it to be limited to real estate. I want any woman who's an investor. So if you own a restaurant or if you're just investing in your own home, you just bought your first home, you're an investor as far as I'm concerned. So really a place for women to kind of get in there and work together to kind of reach goals.
Yeah.
And then my coming soon is something I'd really like to do, and that's a little bit down the pipeline, is the Accidental Flipper. I want to, within that circle, have a specialized community that helps women become active flippers.
Nice.
So So there's what I have. And there you can find me on Facebook at Renee Almeida Miranda.
Perfect. Yeah, I just took a picture of it, so it's a little easier to find it around.
Join the due diligence page. That, you know,
Right.
it's moving a little slow because I've got a lot going on. I've got this flip that I'm working on right now that's 18 acres and 8 buildings, and it's quite a project here. So it's taking. I'm in a small town. Trying to hire a contractor in a small town is quite the challenge. So it's taking a lot of my time. So it's moving a little slower than I'd like, but it's getting there. It'll get there. It'll get where it needs to be.
Yeah. Absolutely. And we're all a great resource as well, and we'd love to join you there as well.
Absolutely.
So,
definitely.
Awesome.
Yep. So
Monique, you've been very quiet because you've been observing and you've been taking it all in today. Do you have any other questions that I'm not thinking of right now? Because you usually do for Renee.
You know, I think Renee covered everything so well. I didn't even have to ask any questions.
Know, right?
I have a few, but I have that she has this like Stoker Channing look to her.
I love it. Yes.
I think it's this weird lighting. Like I can't figure out my light. You guys all look like you're in like this hazy little restaurant. I'm like dark wall. I look like I don't know. I can't get
right.
It's mysterious, or like we're at some sort of speakeasy or something.
Exactly. I want to be in a speakeasy. I don't get it.
I love it.
Oh, too funny.
No, you did a great job, Renee. That was very impressive and very helpful. I think that the audience has gotten quite a great, really good information to be able to make sure that they keep themselves safe. I know that Robert Morgan has mentioned this is one of the best, information that he's been able to have. So from this group. So I really appreciate you coming on here and sharing all that information and making sure that everybody stays safe and giving the tips that you did. People don't know to do those things. So that was super helpful.
You can't say the rule is you don't know what you don't know, and now everybody knows. So if you have a question, reach out to me on that page. I will do my best to answer it. There are a lot of players in the due diligence arena right now, a lot of people with a lot more knowledge than I have, honestly. So my knowledge really comes from doing it wrong. It inspires you to learn. When you don't do something right, you're like, never going to do that again. But there are some players in
we're all in that club. It's all good.
There are some people in the field that are really, really good at due diligence, more of the legal side of it, the technical side of it. So if you have a question, reach out to me. I'll get an answer for you. And please do it before you send the check. Before you wire the funds. Ask the questions.
And make sure it goes into escrow, that it's not just sent directly to the borrower. And I think that, sometimes you make a mistake, you do things, and as long as you learn from it, don't beat yourself up. Don't feel less than. We all have made a mistake in one form or another. And now it's a matter of just what I learned from it and where do I go next. Is that lowest low is your highest future.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Amen. Well said.
Yeah, this was
Very
great.
well. Renee, we are at the top of the hour. Thank you so much for coming on Wholesale Hotties. It was really great to have you on.
I'm so excited. I got to be one of the Wholesale Hotties. I love it. Patty came on and Mary was on, and I'm like, wait, I want to be on. So
that's right.
Well, it was so nice having you, Renee. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. And until next time, thank you so much for watching. Bye. Cool bean.
Yeah.